it's good that Trump now sees clearly that Putin is stringing him along. The big question is what he means by tariffs. If he actually means secondary sanctions on countries which are buying Russian oil and gas, that can be very effective, but it also creates quite a lot of inflation in the global economy. If he just means tariffs on what little Russia is exporting to the United States at the moment, I don't think that has much impact.
Tonight, as Sir Keir Starmer continues his discussions with President Trump over dinner in Aberdeen, Number 10 says the Prime Minister's been sharing a new peace plan for Gaza, which he's been discussing with other European leaders. It comes after US-led peace talks broke down last week and amidst further warnings of increasing numbers of civilians, including children, suffering malnutrition in Gaza. In their wide-ranging news conference earlier, the US president acknowledged that there is real starvation in the territory.
We're going to spend a little money on some food, and other nations are joining us. We can save a lot of people. I mean, some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that.
Well, the US president also expressed his frustration at President Putin for repeatedly refusing to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine. He had given the Russian leader 50 days to end the war or face tough new tariffs. Today, he said he's bringing that forward.
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
Well, Donald Trump had no qualms about wading into our own domestic politics. Asked about the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, Trump had some advice for Sir Keir Starmer. He said he should cut taxes and get tough on immigration.
If you're stopping immigration and stopping the wrong people, I give my hats are off to you. You're doing not a good thing. You're doing a fantastic thing.
Well, Lord Darroch, Kim Darroch, is a former British ambassador to the US, also a former national security advisor. Good evening to you, Lord Darroch.
Good evening, Carol.
Great to have you with us. Let's start with what is happening in Gaza, because we've had that readout from Number 10, which says that Sir Keir Starmer has been sharing with the US president a new plan that he's drawing up with other EU leaders on Gaza. Do you think after all the long months of war and suffering that this could perhaps bring about a change in Gaza?
Carol, I would really like to say that I think this can make a difference. And this is all predictions at this stage, so it's possible I could be wrong. But the plan, from what I understand of it, covers exactly the right areas. It's about how to achieve a ceasefire, how to get a lot more aid in a lot more quickly to Gaza, and about the process by which you might get to negotiations on a two-state solution. And that's absolutely what any comprehensive plan should cover. So, 10 out of 10 for that. But I have to say, the history, I spent a lot of my time in my 40-odd career, either watching what the specialists in the Foreign Office were doing on this, or occasionally sort of overseeing it from jobs like National Security Advisor. And we have never, as Europeans, had much impact on any US administration's approach to the Arab-Israel issue. And the most you kind of get is you get informed when there is an active American peace initiative underway and maybe consulted a little bit, but very seldom actually involved. So unless there is something dramatically different about the US administration under Donald Trump, there are different things about him, so we will see. I think that they will treat this politely, and they may, they will read it and they may use it as a quarry for whatever the next phase of their own activity is. But I don't see us being cut in a big way to American efforts.
It is absolutely crucial that anything that Keir Starmer comes up with is taken up by the US president, isn't it? He is the only world leader outside of the region who can really influence Benjamin Netanyahu. We've seen the breakdown of the US-led talks last week. Do you think it was significant that President Trump today did appear to acknowledge that there is, as he put it, real starvation in Gaza at a time when the Israeli leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, has been saying, look, there's plenty of food, there's plenty of availability, and it's not our fault, it's the fault of Hamas?
Yeah. First of all, you're absolutely right that the Europeans have only a small fraction of the influence over Israel that the United States has. And that's been the case again for decades. And it's particularly the case when Israel is conducting military activity, conflicts on three fronts against Iran, against Hezbollah in Lebanon, and against Hamas in Gaza. And I understand that there is a constant and quite extensive supply of US military equipment going across constantly to Israel that is crucial to Israeli activity on those three fronts. So American leverage is at a kind of support, and leverage is at a peak now. And given that the Europeans don't give very much to Israel in terms of military equipment, and we're very critical of what the Israelis are doing, our influence is very, very limited.
There's so much to discuss. I just wanted to ask you, Lord Darroch, about this idea of recognising the state of Palestine. Yeah. There are well over 200 MPs now calling on the Prime Minister to do this. We know that some in his cabinet think that it could be an important step in trying to get to some form of proper negotiations towards a settlement. Do you think the Prime Minister should now accept those calls, and of course led by President Macron of France, to recognise the state of Palestine?
Your description of the pressures on Keir Starmer sounds to me exactly right. And I read in the Times front page a few minutes ago that the line coming out of Number 10 is that recognition of a Palestinian state is a matter of when, not if. But I also read that although there are important people in government who believe that that recognition should happen soon, maybe alongside France, that Keir Starmer isn't quite there himself. So we'll see how views develop. I mean, there is this emergency cabinet meeting on this coming soon, coming later this week, I think, and maybe that will produce a shift. What I would say, in terms of my personal view, is I am slightly skeptical about it for two reasons. One, Gaza and the West Bank don't meet the legal criteria that we normally apply to recognizing a state. They don't have a stable border. There isn't a single government in charge of the territory, and a number of other factors which they don't quite meet. Second, the problem with recognition at this stage is it doesn't achieve anything on the ground, I don't think, except celebrations on the West Bank and Gaza the day you do it. But the Israelis will be infuriated. And I don't think necessarily be a very hostile reaction with the Americans, but it's not going to, they won't see this as helping their efforts. So I personally wouldn't do it now, but I have absolute respect for people who take a different view. And if Keir Starmer decides this is the moment and that's what his party want and that's what others in the government want, well, so be it. It's going to happen sometime.
Let me just ask you about the other significant line from the US president in terms of President Putin. He has for some time now been expressing his frustration with President Putin. He'd set that deadline of 50 days, which was going to take us to the beginning of September, to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine or face new tariffs. He now says he's got a new deadline, 10 or 12 days. Do you think that is going to make any difference to the Russian leader?
Again, I wish I did think it was going to make a difference, but I'm skeptical. First of all, I don't think Putin reacts well to deadlines, particularly accelerating deadlines. Second, I think a lot of people who are watching developments in Ukraine think the key problem here is that Putin thinks he is winning very slowly, only a few hundred meters a week, but winning. And he thinks that although he's suffering big losses, 1,200 a week killed or wounded on the battlefield, he has got more resources than the Ukrainians do, will eventually wear them down, and the Europeans or the West will eventually lose interest. So that's why I think Putin isn't that interested in negotiations on a deal, unless it's negotiations that give him everything, which give him all the territories, one and a bit more, which give him the right to deny Ukraine joining NATO or joining the European Union, and maybe which give him Zelensky's resignation. So I'm skeptical about this. And it's good that Trump now sees clearly that Putin is stringing him along. The big question is what he means by tariffs. If he actually means secondary sanctions on countries which are buying Russian oil and gas, that can be very effective, but it also creates quite a lot of inflation in the global economy. If he just means tariffs on what little Russia is exporting to the United States at the moment, I don't think that has much impact.
And just finally, I mean, the front page of the Times in the morning picks up on some of that advice which President Trump gave to Keir Starmer. He was asked about Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader, and the success he's had. Of course, Nigel Farage has been close to President Trump in the past. I mean, how annoying is it for a world leader like Keir Starmer to have Donald Trump wading in saying, oh, you've got to start tackling immigration when it's already obviously a very difficult political issue for him?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I am sure Keir Starmer has been briefed that this is what Donald Trump does. And it's what he does with European leaders, it's what he does with his neighbours, with the Canadians, with the Mexicans, and he did it in his first term. So there's a long track record here. So you just have to basically suck it up. There's no point in complaining about it. Second, on the substance of what Trump said, look, it is, I mean, if you look at all the opinion polls, illegal migration, the small boats, is a big issue in people's minds at the moment, and they're very critical of successive governments' failure to solve it. And of course, everyone would like taxes to come down. The problem on small boats is Donald Trump can build a wall across his southern border. We can't actually build a wall across the English Channel. So it's not as easy as just act and sort it out and it'll be fine. And as far as taxes go, well, which bit of the public expenditure are you going to cut to lower taxes, or are you going to do what Trump has done with his big, beautiful bill in the United States, which is just run American debt from 125% of GDP to over 130% of GDP? Well, maybe the American economy can get away with that, but I'm not sure ours can.
Lord Darroch, Kim Darroch, former British ambassador to the US. Great to speak to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much, Carol.
You're listening to Carol Walker on Times Radio.
Early breakfast on Times Radio with Elavon. As a new day dawns, Times Radio connects you with the latest breaking news and provides intelligent opinion on all the morning headlines. Plus, get ahead of all the markets with updates, analysis and insight with Times Radio's daily dedicated business bulletin. Early breakfast, every Monday to Friday morning from 5 on Times Radio with Elavon, your world of payments. Find out more at elavon.co.uk.
Introducing McDonald's Side Missions. Every weekday, a new exclusive mission will drop in the app, like a $1.99 Big Mac with
the Big Mac of Destiny Side Mission.
and a chance to win prizes every weekend.